Hi, this is Christopher Kimball from Milk Street at Home. You know, after 40, 50 years of cooking, I finally started to understand some of the underlying basics and recipes. I call them master recipes. And let me give you an example. Years ago, I was chatting with Julia Child about custards, creme caramel, for example. And she said, oh yeah, that's, a cup of dairy with 2 eggs. And I started looking at all my recipes for custards, like pumpkin pies and custard. And it's a cup of dairy for 2 eggs. So she understood that underneath all these recipes that seem so different, there is a formula. So today I want to give you a very similar formula that is one that's going to be incredibly helpful to you. You can cook this recipe anytime you want out of standard pantry ingredients, and all you need to know are 3 numbers. But before we get to that, a little bit about how I discovered this recipe. It's called Mujaddara. It's lentils and rice with caramelized onions. And I was visiting with a guy called Hussein Hadid. He's co-owner of the Umi restaurant in Beirut. And he took me up to his apartment, which had a wonderful view of the city. And he made lentils and rice with caramelized onions. And he had 2 kids, 9 or 10 years old, a boy and a girl, and it was one of their favorite foods. He said it was comfort food, but for me, it's everyday food. It's absolutely delicious. Now, Beirut is an interesting place. You see Kentucky Fried Chicken signs, you see Fred Astaire dance studio signs, believe it or not. Has worse traffic than LA, it's absolutely unbelievable. But it's gorgeous. It has flowing hills that come right down to the Mediterranean. It was actually the Garden of the Middle East. It's still a little war-torn. You can see bullet holes in some of the buildings. There are police checkpoints. But the people are fabulous and the food is just absolutely extraordinary. So how do you make Mujaddara? Well, you start with the lentils. Now, I have a problem with lentils. Now, there's red lentils and yellow lentils, of course, and when you cook them, they turn into mush, and they're great for soups or dal or whatever. They're French lentil de Puy, which are very small, very dark green, and those are harder. They never get fully soft, and you don't want those. In between are what they call brown lentils or green lentils, and I defy you to go to the supermarket and tell the difference. The brown ones look a little green and the green ones look a little brown. They're larger than lentil de Puy and they're fine. So you can use either for this recipe. So here are the numbers. 5 cups of water, 1 cup of lentils, 1 cup of rice. Put the water in a large pot, add a tablespoon of kosher salt, coarse salt. You can also add spices here, a couple teaspoons of ground cumin, maybe a ½ teaspoon of ground allspice or coriander. Throw in a few smashed garlic cloves if you like, bring that to a simmer. Add the lentils and cook about 10 minutes. They should not be fully cooked. They should still be a little chewy in the center, but the outside is starting to get soft. Add the rice, the cup of rice, usually basmati. In this case, I use jasmine. That's what I happen to have around. Basmati is probably a better choice. It'll hold its toothsomeness a little bit better. Cook it 20 to 25 minutes, and you want the top on in a very slow simmer, like you would cook rice. When the liquid is absorbed, take it off the heat. Take a kitchen towel, fold it, put it over the top, make sure it's not hanging down to the burner, and put the top on and let it sit 10 minutes. Meanwhile, you caramelize your onions. Make as many onions as you have. There's no point in doing a small batch of this. I use 6 or 7 small to medium onions. About 1/3 of a cup of olive oil or any cooking oil is fine. I'd like to caramelize onions on the low to medium, keep it on the low side so they don't burn. It'll take you about ½ an hour or so, get them nice and caramelized. Put them on a towel-lined plate, sprinkle some salt on top, and now you're ready to go. The rice and lentils are fully cooked. Take them out, serve them, put the caramelized onions on top. Some chopped scallions or chives are nice. You can also add a little bit of yogurt. Now, for variations, you could start the recipe by sauteing the lentils with some onion or garlic if you like, sort of like a peel off a little bit of oil. But it's a very simple recipe. It's got 3 measurements. 5 cups of water, 1 cup of lentils, brown or green, and 1 cup of rice. And in under an hour, you have an absolutely fabulous meal, and it's all from your pantry.